The Pope is a role that has been a part of the Church since the early days of Jesus Christ and his disciples. First and foremost, the Pope is the head of the Catholic Church, but he is also so much more than that to a lot of people. This past week, Pope Francis blessed our nation with his infectious smile and gracious heart. He spent about a week in 3 different cities around the United States. He left a huge impression on our country as only the Pope could do. He showed us in many different ways his kind spirit and what the love of God really looks like. He spent his time doing more than just waving and smiling. I'd like to explain why what all he did was so important and why I think it changed our nation, at least for this week. For 6 days, he brought our messy multitude together. We were singing, dancing, laughing, crying, hoping, and praying, all as one nation under God. Washington, D.C. was the first stop of the Pope. He stood with our fearless leaders and showed them a lot of what humility really is. He reminded the Congress that history speaks not only through the perfect and the proud, but also through the flawed and the humble. He brought many of our leaders to tears. Instead of dining with the richest people in the United States, he opted to dine with the homeless. He went straight from his speech to a homeless shelter where he blessed their food and reminded them that they are not just homeless people, but they are brothers and sisters and daughters and sons in Christ. He did not spend long in Washington, D.C. before he headed off to his next stop, which was New York City. From our nation's leaders to our nation's celebrities, the Pope made his way to New York to see all that the city had to offer. He visited a lot of the places that everyone would go to the city to see, including St. Patrick's Cathedral, Central Park, the United Nations, and Madison Square Garden. Perhaps the most touching place that he visited was Ground Zero. He reminded us humbly how we all came together that day as one nation, and how we all leaned on each other, and that we should strive to become more like that in our daily lives now. He also took time to pray for all of those that lost their lives and their families. He also made a brief visit to Harlem to visit with all the kids that were lining the streets. He was singing with them and dancing with them. He made a speech before he left on family and spoke of how there's no such thing as the ideal family, but rather our families are factories of hope, and that our homes are the site of tiny miracles that carry us through the day. His last stop for the week is Philadelphia, a city that is currently still dealing with a lot of issues from all of the sexual abuse scandal that has been going on there in the Catholic Church. While he was there, he took the opportunity to apologize to all the survivors of the scandal, saying that what happened was unforgivable and promised to punish the guilty. He used the phrase "God weeps" as he listened to all the stories of all the survivors. While in Philadelphia, he also visited a prison and met with the lowest of the low. He said to them, "We all have dirty feet and stains on our soles," and this is coming from a man who dresses in all white. This pope is known as the People's Pope, and for a lot of good reasons. This is a man that's actively on Twitter and actively taking selfies, if you will, so that makes people draw to him, especially young people that are my age. While he was here, like I said, he visited Washington, D.C., New York City, and Philadelphia, 3 of our biggest cities. He came here to make an impact and to be a light in what has been a very dark time. People going against each other, a time that's been plagued by race or racism, and he just really blessed our city with our nation rather, with coming here and talking to all of us. The Pope is someone that we always have known about and somebody that we learn about, but we never imagined that we could actually meet. And he almost seems fictional, but I believe that this Pope is the real deal.